This week's episode of the Inside Running Podcast is proudly sponsored by ASICS. Stability has never felt better than with the Gel Kayano 30. Updated with a 4D guidance system for support right when you need it and pure gel technology for softer landings every time. Visit asics.com or your specialty running store to grab your pair today.
Being a skin can bring us so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place?
Welcome to episode number 304 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. A lot's happened in the last 7 days of world distance running. Looking forward to talking to Croaks and Moose all about those things. Includes the World Champs, which finished up today, National Cross Country Championships, Adelaide Marathon happened. Got some good listener questions here, Moose on the loose, and what's coming up. Looks like a few things to talk about as well. Welcome to my co-host. He rejoins us this week after heart surgery last Monday. Bradley Croker, how are you?
Good, thanks Brady. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. Although we did do a little episode, me, you and Christian, mid last week, so I did hear your voice then, but it's good to have you back for the weekly show.
Yeah, it was nice last week to get my podcast hit with Christian. I really enjoyed, sort of dissecting that 1,500 metre race.
Yeah, that was good fun, wasn't it? I think we're going to do it again tonight, Croaks, just looking at some of the results here. But we've got our other co-host, not Christian. We've got Julian Spence, the 2018 World Championships, 19 World Championships representative. Julian Spence, how are you going this week?
Yeah, good. I did listen to that episode, actually, and realised about 10 minutes in why I didn't get an invite to it.
Oh, we just assumed you're too busy.
You blokes fucking love it. And I haven't watched any of the races. And I'm like, I think I'm disconnected with the track and field world because I actually have very little interest in this right now. And you blokes living and breathing it.
I think, though, those two had some better stats than I did, Moose, but I was just happy to be there and be part of the conversation. I was very impressed with Croaks' research about certain splits and all those kind of things. Like, he did a great job, and Christian just knows that scene so well. So I was definitely the third wheel.
You've got to admit, Moose, the 1,500 the last few years has been pretty exciting.
It has. No, I agree. But I still don't get the levels of excitement that you two both had.
You were up and about over the weekend, though, weren't you, for the marathons? Like, you were, like, messaging us.
I watched the marathon. Better turn this on. Yeah. I actually did watch the road races. Like, that's the thing that I'm really interested in. But yeah, I've never fully got around the track like you guys have, and it's probably because I never spent that much time on there. Like you Croaks, you were on the track till you're like 43 or something. It's only after that you turned to the road.
Yeah, I was track. Pretty much up until I was like early 30s.
Yeah, you go into the Paris World Champs and stuff. I reckon you told me that, like when you were a kid.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that, Moose, because I did go to Paris World Champs, but I was so into track. And like at that point, I was 23. I'm like, I'm never running a marathon. I didn't even go and watch the marathon at the Paris World Champs.
Well, who won? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember who won. I think Troopy was representing us. But because I was just purely like, I'm like 1,500 metre runner. I'm not really interested in going and watching the marathon. It's changed now.
Hey, talking about your age, Croaks, it was your birthday yesterday too, wasn't it?
Yeah, 43.
43. Happy birthday for yesterday. Moose won't wish you happy birthday because he's got that lame thing where he doesn't wish people happy birthday for their birthdays. Yeah. But happy birthday on behalf of me and all the other Inside Running Podcast listeners.
Thanks, Brad.
I do say happy birthday. I do say it.
To who? You've never said happy birthday to me or Croaks.
Wow.
And you're in a message group where everyone says happy birthday and you don't do it.
They're 43. Who cares?
That's true, Moose. I generally don't like celebrating getting a year older now.
I reckon when he's 50, I'll reach out.
What'd you get up to, Croaks?
I went for a bit of a walk, and then went down and hung out with the kids while they rode their bikes, and then the afternoon was spent on my own watching the marathon, which was like perfect. 3 p.m. kickoff for a marathon is ideal, especially when it's your birthday and you just say, Viv, I'm spending the next 2 hours in the bedroom watching this. Keep the kids occupied. It's my birthday.
Have a couple of screens open. Russell must be getting hammered with the extra exercise that you're peppering him with lately.
He still doesn't get out the door as much, because if I go for a walk, I'm going for an hour, and I try and get up onto some of the trails behind our house, and he'd struggle with that. But he was getting, when I was first diagnosed and I had to stop running, I was definitely walking him more than what he was getting before that. Yeah.
Troopy was 17th at those world champs, Croaks. 2:11 he ran. It was won by a Moroccan athlete, Garib. Stefano Baldini from Italy was third. That's a significant name around that era, wasn't it?
Yeah, we won the Olympics.
Yeah, I thought so. Julio Ray from Spain was second. 2:08 they ran. Not a bad run.
Well, is the only Aussie in it for us?
I'm just scrolling through now as we talk. No, there's an Australian flag. Andrew Leatherby.
Oh, yeah?
And another one there. Rob de Hayden, 2:16.
Oh, Rod de Hayden.
Yep.
Yeah.
He
still runs some AV stuff, I reckon.
Yeah,
he was a few years
Doncaster,
ago.
wasn't he? Doncaster boy.
Leatherby's a good man as well. I spent some time with him over in Boulder when I was over there in 2009.
What was his nickname?
Leather balls?
Oh, no. What's Rob de Hayden's nickname? Doesn't he have one too? I swear it's like Bull or something like that. I don't know. Bruno or something like that maybe. Anyway, let's talk about some running here that involves us, Julian Spence. Croaks, give us an update first about how your heart surgery went. I love we've been on air for like 5 minutes, haven't even asked him, but talked about a shitload of other things.
It went pretty well. So, surgery was about 4 hours in total. Went in about 8, got out around midday. And then originally I thought I was going to be asleep for the whole thing. But before we went in, they said, I would like to keep you awake for the first half just to try and mimic, when you run, you're obviously awake, and we'll try and get your heart rate up while you're awake to try and bring on the arrhythmia. So they gave me this sedative initially, which was awesome. I felt amazing. It's I would easily get addicted to whatever drug they gave me at first, but then they must have heavily sedated me to put the catheters in through my groin and up into my heart, because I don't remember that. And then I remember just sort of coming to and hearing the surgeon chatting to the anaesthetist, to obviously put more adrenaline in or whatever, and I could feel my heart just beating at all different rhythms. And then there was a screen there that was showing what your heart rate was, and it was at one point it's 200, and then it's back down to 90, and I could feel it beating pretty hard in my chest at times. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then for the second half, they put me to sleep. But in terms of I came out of it a bit disappointed, because they told me that they weren't able to bring on my ventricular tachycardia, which is the whole idea of it, is to try and bring on the arrhythmia so they can actually pinpoint where the electrical signal is being messed up, and then they burn it off to block it. And so I thought it was, a bit of a disappointment that they couldn't do that. They still did do the ablation, so they still did burn a bit of heart tissue, but I guess it was more on, not a guess, but based on what they saw with the scarring and stuff, I guess they just made their best guess as to where they should be doing the ablation. And then the recovery was pretty good. My blood pressure was pretty low, so they had to keep me in recovery for a little bit longer before they moved me to the ward. And the most painful part of the actual procedure was my bladder had filled up throughout the whole procedure, that when I was in recovery, I was busting to go to the toilet, but I had to lay on my back for 4 hours after the surgery, just because of the wounds around my groin. But they actually scanned my bladder, and it was pretty much at capacity. But I couldn't go, and I don't know whether it was the drugs or just lying on my back, but it was pretty painful. And then I managed to get like a little bit out, which sort of got me through until I was able to get out of bed and get upright. So that was pretty much it. Stayed in for a night, was discharged at like 10 o'clock the next day, and then we drove back to Canberra, got home about 5 o'clock. And then Andre Lagersh, he called me like a few hours after I got out of surgery, and because he'd spoken to the surgeon, and I said to him, I guess it was sort of good and bad in a way. And he was pretty upbeat about it because he thought it was a positive that they couldn't bring on the arrhythmia, because if they're trying to bring it on and they can't, then you're probably less likely to experience it when you're out running. And he's also said that there was a bit of evidence that maybe the arrhythmia is coming from the outside surface of the heart, which would be a completely different procedure and a different ablation. But in terms of the next step, I'm going to go back and see him in about a month. So he's over in Europe at the moment. But when he gets back, I'll go down and do another VO2 max test, which is what I did when I first got diagnosed, and I had a few episodes of VT. So I'll do that. And while I'm down there, he'll also insert this loop recorder. So he showed me one of when I was in his office, actually. So it's about the length of a USB, but it's probably about half the thickness. And they just cut you above just above your heart, and they sort of insert it just underneath your skin, and it sits there for, I think the batteries last like 3 years, and it pretty much just monitors your heart rhythm 24/7. So the combination of doing the VO2 max test, like if that all comes back pretty normal, then he's happy for me to start to do a bit more exercise. And then they'll continue to monitor my arrhythmias, or hopefully lack of arrhythmias, through that loop recorder. So that's the next step, which will happen sometime in September, hopefully.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you said, like I think you said on the other show, like more questions than answers, but still, it's good to hear that Andre thinks there's some positives there.
Yeah, I admit, like, I've been a bit down since the surgery, because I guess I had this sort of like excitement of, okay, I'm going to go and have surgery, and then hopefully that sort of heals things. But then you come out of it and like don't even know if that ablation did anything, and I'm not going to know until I start exercising. And now it's like, okay, the next step is obviously more testing, putting this loop recorder. But then, the scenarios are that, okay, if I keep getting these arrhythmias, then they look at, is the arrhythmia coming from the outside of the heart? So that's a different procedure. And obviously if I keep getting the arrhythmias, then the amount of running that I'm allowed to do will obviously be pretty limited. And then, then I guess there's the talk about the defib, but like that sort of got put on the back burner. That's what Andre said, like the fact that they couldn't bring on the arrhythmia, then it's like, well, we don't need to talk about a defib at the moment. But it's all still a bit up in the air.
Yeah, and I guess it's hard to know what to think about it all, because it is all up in the air. Like you don't have the, like, this is the next point of action, and then do this, and then you're back running.
Yeah. It's been 10 weeks this weekend since I pretty much ran for an hour. So I'm starting to feel a bit, just a bit like, just sloppy. Like, I haven't put on a heap of weight. Like I've still been trying to eat well. So I've only put on probably like 2 to 3 kilos, but you just feel, I don't know, when you're not exercising, you don't feel as great. And that's why I'm forcing myself to go out for decent walks. Like I think I walked probably like 6K this morning. It's not massive, but it's better than sitting on the couch.
You walk fast, or you just chilling?
I'd say it's somewhere in between. So it's not like full on, like power walk, wiggling my hips. Yeah, I'm certainly not doing that, but I'm also like not just dawdling.
Yeah, okay.
You go to the gym still?
Nah, no gym. I hate the gym.
Oh, do you? See, I reckon I'd get into the gym if I couldn't run.
Yeah, no. Well, part of the rehab for the surgery, like that's the one thing I'm not allowed to do for 2 weeks is like lift stuff, because of the groin. So yeah, it's funny. Like you'd think having heart surgery, it's like, okay, you need to worry about the heart for the next 2 weeks, but it's actually like where they went in through the groin. So that's all like pretty like bruised, and you're just not allowed to pick anything up that's heavy, and but I should be able to do some exercise, like obviously I'm walking an hour, and I do plan to do a little bit of like run walk, I reckon, in the next, maybe in a week's time, like run for 3 minutes, walk for 2 minutes, just to do something other than walking. And I think that's relatively safe doing that.
Okay. Moose, do you want to tell us about your week?
Yeah, I can tell you. Monday, coming off a bigger long run, I just did 2 small runs as a double. So I had some like fatigue, soreness on this day. Every Monday is the same at the moment with these bigger long runs. So I just did 37 in the morning. In the afternoon, did half an hour just around home. Then Tuesday, ran with Bree, actually. So we must have got out relatively early to do that. Just 12K around town. Actually, we went down to the beach, ran along the beach a little bit, and then came up. And then Bree did surges. I was still pretty cooked on Tuesday. She dropped me on a few of those surges. Downhill, I just couldn't keep up. She's got a pretty good turnover and change of pace, way better than me. Uphill, I could keep up with her on the surges, but downhill, I was no good. On that evening, I did treadmill. So I've been jumping on there after dinner. So this was about 8 o'clock, half an hour. I do some gym afterwards. I'm just doing some basic weight circuits. So I do stuff like, I've got a trap bar. So I do the trap bar deadlift. I did some, like Bulgarian split squats, single leg calf raise, and a bit of core, some chin ups, that sort of thing. I normally can get out of there in 35 minutes, 40 minutes, but it's been good. I've really enjoyed it. Getting back into the gym, like I feel stronger on the hills already. And I actually feel like I recover better doing gym from my running for some reason. Ran with Ali on the Wednesday. We ran down and out and back. It was supposed to be at RG. She was the one pushing the pace on this run. I still wasn't feeling good, so I said we got to go slow. But she was the one pushing. It was about 13K or so. Running the treadie that afternoon. Next day, I was feeling pretty average, so I decided to can the workout that I had planned, and that was going to be a longer marathon type workout, but I just didn't have any type of motivation to go out and hit paces and do a long workout. Like, I was really tired. I hadn't been sleeping very well. I don't know whether it's exercising later at night, but I've been having some shit sleeps, and I wake up in the middle of the night. I'm pretty hungry, so I'm trying to eat in the middle of the night, and then I wake up feeling kind of sick from the food I was eating. So I woke up this next morning thinking, oh shit, I got to do a workout, and I was supposed to do a longer one, so I decided I'll do something that takes the pressure off me having to really perform or like on paper executing something. So I just went out for a 1 hour run, and I went out the back of the town over the hills, up a pretty big hill that actually does keep going a lot further. I only went up maybe a quarter of the way, and I just did a minute on, minute off. So I kind of had this this is sort of what the Kenyans do a lot when they go out, by the sounds of it, and then they start to wind it up through this workout. And they do it on dirt roads, which is what this was, and they do it over hills. And I thought, yeah, I'll just do this. Like, this is a pretty, it's like a pretty low-key type of workout, like no real pressure to hit paces on the hills. I know Sydney's going to be hilly, so I thought it'd be good to get another hilly workout in. And the idea was, like, when I started, there wasn't any sort of pace goals. There wasn't any efforts that I was supposed to hit. I just wanted to do harder, easier. That was the only prescription to it. And I loved it. I thought this was one of my favorite workouts that I've ever done. And it was pretty hilly. Like, there was a specific section where I hit like the hills, and I thought, all right, let's go up here. Let's try and get 10 reps up this hill. So like maybe 15, 20 minutes worth of running up the hill. So every uphill, even the floats were uphill, and the paces varied throughout this workout. From like, I was going downhill, some fast reps actually, like 250 pace for one of them on one of the downhill reps. And then the float was like 316, 311. But then going on the uphill, one of my uphill reps, like if I have a look at it, the uphill rep was 349, and then the float was 432. So there was a massive amount of variance within the workout. And then I got to the top section, and it still wasn't flat, but it was a little bit smoother surface. So I decided I would get up there, like just to get a little bit more feel for like what a race effort might be. And I kept up the paces okay. So I was like 320, 4 minutes, 318, 350, 256, 325. I mean, it's just so hard. The paces are irrelevant on this workout because of the hills. It's just ridiculous how varied they were. So in the end, it was average of 325, and I covered 17.5K.
But good. Gap pace was like 319s for the session.
Yeah. Like this is probably the best workout that I've done since, I'm going to say, 2020. And it doesn't look like it. It's hard to see it. But I was thinking like the way I felt during this, and then I finished, I didn't look at my pace at all. And I finished, I'm like, 325, fuck, that's a solid pace for this run. Like I got pretty pumped about that, considering how bad I felt when I woke up.
Yeah, I saw the splits before I saw your notes. So I actually looked at this just seeing the numbers, and I'm like, oh, this is a great workout over that elevation to average that kind of pace. And then I saw your notes, and I'm like, oh, Andy wasn't even feeling good. It was a bit of a like, just get out there and do something kind of workout. So that's a great sign. And
wearing Super Blast.
Wasn't in Super Blast. But, yeah, it wasn't.
That's what Strava says.
I know. Looking back, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, geez, I did some good workouts in the heavies back then. But yeah, no, this gave me a lot of confidence, that workout. I thought, shit, I'm in pretty good shape here. And pretty good shape for that, like over hills too. So I know Sydney ain't flat. So it gave me a bit of confidence. The next day I did 2 short runs again. So I reckon this has been getting me through these 2 short doubles. So 8.5 in the morning, and then I did 6. I forgot to start my watch. 6 and a bit in the Arvo. Had a massive dinner though. Like, it's bloody hard getting your timing right. You blokes don't really run after dinner, do you?
Nah, definitely not.
Nah, it's tough because you got to eat dinner with the family, and you've had a long day at work and you're pretty hungry, so you eat a decent dinner, and then you're like, oh fuck, I got to run in 20 minutes, and it just feels gross. So I got to work that out. I got to maybe just have a little tiny appetizer or something with the family, and then have dinner after I finish running, which is at like 8:45 at night. So it's pretty late dinner.
That's why you're not sleeping, Moose. If I was finishing a run at nearly 9 o'clock, there's no way I'm getting to sleep before like midnight.
Yeah, the weird thing is I can get to sleep and then I'm awake an hour later, just like staring at the roof and hungry. I reckon it's a combination. I was wondering if you run, like, do you get adrenaline released into your blood or something? I don't know, but it just doesn't bode well, and I've got to work it out. Maybe I have to stay up later after that.
And summer's even worse. Like you add the late run plus the heat, and then then it's really hard to fall asleep or sleep throughout the night.
Yeah, that's true.
Can't you run between like work finishing and dinner?
I have dinner. I basically walk into dinner.
Okay.
Because it's a commute to work. It's like 40 minutes, 45 now. So I knock off at, like, I leave the work at 5:15 normally to 5:30. So I'm eating dinner by the time we get home. I don't know what time you've got to.
I reckon
maybe it's about the same time.
What if you did your second run like before you drove home?
Yeah, I probably just missed dinner at home, that's all. And it's sort of part of the deal because I don't really see Pia in the morning. So, it's part of the family thing. I just wouldn't see her very much. And this is the compromise. Like, back in the day, it was easy to get doubles in, wasn't it? Without kids.
Yeah. Or you just, you can't. I know why you're doing the 2 doubles, shorter doubles for the recovery, but the alternative is do 60 or 70 minutes in the morning, then not double.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is great for family. That's what I've been doing.
Got to wake up earlier to do that too.
And it's actually the purpose. You actually do want to recover with the 2 singles.
Yeah, I know. And I think I can get it done. Like, I don't mind it. I just got to work out the sleep thing. And I think I've got to put some more distance between the sleep and the actual bedtime. Like, I'm pretty much just having a shower going into bed, almost.
Can't you just get, Jimmy Friend to carry her in the store for half an hour? 3:30 to 4 p.m, just go for a jog?
It's a good call, actually. We've been very busy lately. I probably can't at the moment. And I also drive Toby home. So
really?
He's fucking up my plans too. Although he's been riding home from work a bit lately, so that's been good.
Well, why doesn't he drive you home and just drop you half an hour from home? Just jog into the house.
Oh, actually, not bad idea, that.
Good idea for me, I reckon.
It could be good.
6K from home, on the road.
Yeah.
Run straight into dinner, crack a beer, bit of family time.
I like that. We could work that out. That means he has to drive, though.
Yeah, give him something to do. He's not doing much running.
Nah. I did a trail run in Currawong Falls with Ali the next day. This was pretty dumb, actually. This is a pretty technical trail, and we almost had a few stacks. I decided after this, I'm not going on this sort of trail again. Too dumb, too close to the race. Something will happen here. Again, ran after that evening. Felt shit, and just this was a touch and go one. This was one where I'm like, I probably don't need to run this, but I did it anyway. I've been making a lot of sensible decisions, the cautious way, and I thought this one here feels like I want to get it done just to prove that I'm disciplined and committed to this program. And it felt okay towards the end. And then the next day was our longer workout. So the running company, we had a group long run put on just down along Barwon River. Meet at Landy Field. We had Morton provides the gels because they're the main sponsor of Melbourne Marathon. So everyone got in and got trials of the gels. And New Balance rocked up, brought the Supercomp Elite V3 test kit. So we had a heap of people put on the race shoes and test them out for a long run, which is just such a good program. If you were in 2 minds about whether a shoe would work for you for a marathon, and then a brand comes and goes, well, take it for a 40K run if you want, and then hand it back. How good's that? That's pretty much the ultimate way to test a shoe. And so Jimmy Friend, he facilitated all this. So it was his little project. So he was there flinging the shoes out to people, and I took a table round to the 5K mark of our loop with people's personalised drinks, and so they could run this 10K loop if they wanted to, which nearly everyone did, and they could pick up a drink at 5K. And we also had a box of Mortons out them from them to take at 5K mark as well. And I think I had I'm not sure, maybe 100 gels, and they all went. That's how many people got stuck into the Mortons. It was pretty good from Morton to put that on. But my workout was 3x8K with a 2K float. It was originally going to be 3x7K, but I thought I would make it 3x8K for a couple of reasons. The first rep I ran with Liam Werrett, who is a listener, and also he runs for Collingwood, and he came down just for the long run. And Hardy, who's from Geelong, he had a steady long run at about 3:30s. So I decided I would jump in, do 3x8K instead of 3x7, because I would do the first one a little slower just to stay with the group. So my goal was to progress these just slightly. First one was 327, felt pretty comfy. We floated. The idea was about 350, so 345 float. Really, 2K float, that's like 7.5 minutes of running. You can really get recovered in that time, even without jogging. By the time you hit 7 minutes of that float, you're ready to go again. So that's a pretty helpful float. Makes this workout a lot easier than if you were just doing a 1K float or like a 3-minute jog or something. The next rep, it was just Hardy and I for about 2K, and then I told him to back off. He was running too fast for his workout. So then it was probably me solo for like 6K of this rep. I ran 322s. I felt okay knowing that I had one more left. It's probably the hardest part of the workout is like the last 2K of the second rep. The last rep's a lot easier because you know you're finishing. Floated in 342, had a hard time keeping the brakes on for this. It just felt like I needed to keep running faster, and I also hit a fast part of the course for the float. And then the last rep, I didn't really want to go faster on this rep. I kind of just wanted to stay controlled, but controlled still felt fine at 321. And it's a little cheat float at the end. You can pick it up a bit because you know the workout's about to end. So 339s. I ran a 4K warm-up-ish, 4.5K cool-down. So all up 38.6. And I was happy with this one because, again, I slept very poorly. The night before, I reckon I only had 3-4 hours sleep total. And so, yeah, I was quite, happy to get this one out of the way. And I felt good, that I was disciplined to hit the paces and I didn't make any rash decisions to run too fast. Perhaps I've done that the last sort of 3-4 weeks is almost felt like when I got bored during the workout that I just added pace or injected some speed or some challenge to it by going quicker, whereas I wasn't willing to stay bored for a long time, which is a true strength of a marathoner, is to be able to handle boredom, monotony, going to sleep on a workout or a race, and not feeling like the urge to push it when you don't have to. And so I was happy that I executed this one. So it was like 146, 47 for the week, which is my biggest week in a long time. Calves got a bit sore. Calves were sore today, but they're pretty much sore all the time at the moment. So I'm going to do one more decent week of training, then start to sort of just reel it in a little bit and be right for the day, hopefully.
Oh, yeah. Heading in the right direction. It's a good week.
Yeah.
What was the workout meant to be on Wednesday, Moose?
I didn't really have one, to be honest. I'm pretty lax at the moment. I just wanted it to be a marathon pace, longer rep workout. And so I would have decided on the day. It's one of the problems with not having a coach or coaching yourself is there's good things and there's bad things associated with that. And one of the bad things is you can cop out a bit easier. There's no accountability. And one of the good things is if you have a shit sleep is you can adjust on the fly and you wake up feeling sore and you're like, today's not the day to go and hurt myself. And so you could probably look at it two ways, I guess.
Flexibility. You say it does make that workout easier in a sense to recover and hit the splits, but you also get more Ks in your legs, which then I think makes it harder later in the workout.
Yeah, probably.
But the duration gets you. Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking that during the workout because I knew I was looking down, I'm like, fuck, we're at 34K of this run now. This is starting to get into the marathon territory of how I would sort of feel at maybe the 26K mark, 28K mark of an actual marathon. And that's a good thing for it, is just fatigue.
Mentally, though, it becomes a little bit easier because, as you said, you get 7 minutes to just sort of chill out, regroup before you got to start working again. Whereas if you're doing a 1K float, it's 3.5 minutes and you're in it. You're in that marathon grind again.
Yeah. Your heart rate stays
both
up.
Ways.
The heart rate drops well down during those floats. I find this workout a lot easier than doing shorter recoveries for sure, even though the reps are longer.
It's 20 days away from race day. Getting excited. It's not far away.
Yeah. I'm 1 week away from dropping it down. I'm going to go to Burnley this coming weekend, do a little workout there. So that'll feel like that's always a little cheap way out too, doing a workout within a race because it's like a free pass.
Yeah. What workout are you doing?
I think I'll do like 10K steady and then 10K at 320s.
Oh, yeah. You should do the same as Paddy.
What's he doing?
2 by 10K, 1K float.
What pace is he running?
I think like 3:15s.
Did he say that on the show?
No, this is in our Benny Go Bats chat.
Oh. What pace he say?
I reckon he'll probably... I'm just predicting here off what he's been doing marathon pace stuff at, like that 3:15 to 3:17 I reckon he'll go at.
No, I don't need that.
Maybe come in at 69 minutes.
I can go slower than that. That's what I need to practice. I'm going to practice running slower and being comfortable with going slower.
It's been good, Moose, seeing you're training like a marathoner again, unlike earlier this year when you were running a marathon but not really training for a marathon.
Feels different, but I'm a bit spooked by that one. Like, honestly.
I reckon it was good for you though. It sort of like took a bit of I'm a 2:14 man. I can handle this marathon, and it's like it just goes to show there's no substitute. Like if you're not prepared, like you just can't fake it.
Yeah, 100%, and it's taught me some respect again as well, because even now, like I just keep thinking back. I'm like, why the fuck were my calves so? Like, why are my quads so sore? Like that race beat the shit out of me in 20K. It beat me up so bad. Like
you pulled out halfway, didn't you?
I was not like that was a knockout from that race last time, and I'm getting back in the ring with it again.
Did you know the? Oh, sorry, Mish. Continue.
Oh no, I'm just like. Yeah, I'm more prepared this time. I've conditioned myself better, but still, that's the last memory of it.
Yeah, and like you think about how miserable Osaka was, but I reckon 90% of runners out there don't prepare adequately for a marathon. So they're having like pretty unenjoyable days out there, I reckon.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like look at a lot of the people that have signed up for Sydney. It's like, oh yeah, no, I like the challenge of, you know, doing the marathon, but they're probably, you know, not fully prepared for it. And then they just go, oh yeah, I'll go and do it. And then they get to like 30K and they're like, oh, this was the worst idea ever. I'm not running again till this time next year.
I think, yeah, you see it at Melbourne quite often, and we see it in the store every day. It's like, it's a question we ask everyone. Oh, you're training for something? It's like, yep, doing marathon, doing Melbourne. And you're like, oh, cool. What's that? Like 7 weeks? Yeah, 7 weeks. About to start training for it. You're like, oh, fuck.
It's the one thing as a coach that I always try and get through to my athletes. Like they'll come to me and say, I want to do this event. It's like, well, like only do that event if you're willing to put in the work to prepare for that event, because I just don't see the point in entering an event where you're not fully prepared for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's enjoyment, like you said. You want to go to a marathon and experience a marathon, well, you want to enjoy it too, and you can actually enjoy that experience if you prepare for it. Yeah. But it's the opposite if you don't. It's a really shitty, miserable time out there. Early for a long time too, and you come away and you think that was awful. Like you don't feel like you achieved anything really. I reckon if you have a good experience, there's a sense of achievement there because you're celebrating your commitment. You're proud of yourself for committing and training for something.
I had this conversation with someone on Friday night, and it's that new mentality of like Goggins, stay hard, you can mentally get through it, like it's going to be tough, like. And I was talking to someone who just recently got into running, and they were asking me, like, you know, how many weeks they need to train until they do their first marathon. And I'm just like, go 5 years. Like, how many people from the athletics background like don't do their first marathon until they're like 30 and been running for like a big significant amount of like training time to get some K's in their legs? Because I just don't think you can just rush into it. But people have this like bucket list, want to tick it off. I'll mentally be able to push through it and get through it. And you're like, you know, it's going to be a terrible day for them out there, and they're never going to want to come back to the sport.
Yeah. what's even worse, Brady, is like the marathon's not even long enough for people now. People are signing up for these massive ultras and they're not even prepared for a normal marathon.
I would say the correlation with ultras is they're less prepared. Like the people running ultras tend to train less than those running a marathon, because I feel like it's not a joke, but it's not serious. Like because the time doesn't matter, because there's no real competitive element to it. It's like just a Sunday activity. Oh, we'll just
they can stop and walk a bit, walk up the hills.
Yeah.
Stop for 30 minutes and at the checkpoint have a bit of a chat.
No one really cares about your time. They just care that you're out there having I say having a crack. I'd say that's not having a crack by not training for something. But they're out there performing the activity. That's like the celebration. But most ultra runners outside that top level, I'd say they train less than the 3.5, 4 hour marathoner.
Yeah, right. I'm going to whistle through this week, fellas, because we've got plenty to talk about. Monday, 65 minutes easy, 4:45s. Tuesday, I did a track workout without a track. I did 20 by 72 second efforts of 45 seconds walk, just down a straight road, waited for 45 seconds, went back again. I really wanted to do like some 400 metre repeats and thought I just set 72 seconds into my watch, and so it just beeped, and I just tried to keep the lap pace under 3 minute K pace, which I'm not real sure how accurate it is in that kind of short period of time, but it's all just running at the end of the day, and I was kind of running at a pretty decent click, and decent clip I think it is, not click, and just ran up and down and got some speed in the legs, so that was a good workout. Then I went to the gym in the afternoon.
Good job.
Hey?
Good job correcting yourself. We didn't want another success breeds cowards.
Yeah.
Mess up.
I reckon I've made that mistake in the past, that one, so I thought I'd better fix that one up there.
You weren't on Warwick Road, were you?
And that one's never been published, Croak, so every time you guys try and take the piss out of me for that one, it just goes over like every single listener's head.
We got to go back. Zaka, please go back and find that
Croak, you weren't even on that app. Ali was filling in for you, I reckon, that episode. Anyway, I went to the gym in the afternoon, and I did an afternoon run of 6.5k. On Wednesday, I did a midweek long run. I did 90 minutes at 4:25s. Then Thursday, I did 60 minutes at 4:32s. Friday, I tested out the second iteration of the Zebras Mousse. Not sure if you got them in stock yet or what we can or can't say about them. Put those on for some 5 minute efforts, kind of averaged around 3:15s, off 90 seconds jog in between. That's a very interesting shoe. Like the first version was extremely different than anything I'd worn before, and this probably takes it up another level as well. So,
does it feel similar to the first version?
I think it feels, I don't actually know the specs and stuff, but it feels a bit more like aggressive and higher, which probably brings a bit less stability to it as well. Like I felt super tall in it. Like, I don't know the specs on it yet, but this is I got out of the box, I'm just like, this is starting to get like ridiculous how they're producing these shoes now. It's very good to look at, but I was just like, this is like, I couldn't walk around the house in it. Like, this is like just a shoe that you have to run fast in. So, it was a cool little experience, and I'm looking forward to testing it out a bit more before I go into too many details about where I think it's going to sit in my rotation. Got out went to the gym and a jog that afternoon as well after school, 6.8k at 4:32s. Saturday, an easy hour, 4:40s. Didn't go out till 10:32. Carly did her long run in the morning, and it was some beautiful sunshine. I reckon it was nearly 20 degrees up here on Saturday, so I enjoyed getting out a bit later and kind of getting some sun on the arms. And then Zachy came up to a Chukamoama fellas, which was good to see him in the flesh. And we went to, Ryan Cramry, who runs for Geelong Region Moose. His Bucks party was in a Chukamoama, big tourist town.
Was it?
Big for Bucks party. Yeah, I thought you might have been there.
Mate, he's fallen off the planet, Crammers.
I went down there and, had a couple of beers with a few of them, and I thought I might have bumped into a couple of the Geelong boys, but strange, the whole Bucks party was full of Bendigo people.
Yeah, stiff from him.
Did you not get invited?
Mate. That run to PB bloke, he broke him.
Who?
His coach.
Who? Josh Harris?
Oh, well, whoever coaches him, I'm
Josh
not
Harris
sure.
coaches. I think he's fine. He's been running the whole season, hasn't he?
He's broken.
He's running Burnley half marathon this weekend, so he can't be too broken. Anyway, so Zach came up, went out for dinner, went to the Bucks party, and then we went over to the Shepparton Running Festival on Sunday.
Hold up a second.
Yep.
Hold up a second.
What do you want to know?
Did Zach go to his Bucks party?
Yeah, Zach was there as well. Well, we went to the same...
Does Zach know it?
Nah, but we just went anyway.
Wait,
I actually
Zach
wasn't
rocked
invited.
up to someone's Bucks party, doesn't even know it.
Well, I wasn't invited either. I was rocked up as well. Like, if things roll into a Chukamoama and you're going to come into our town, or my town, is that not Zach's town? We're going to just go along and have a couple of beers.
Croaks.
Should have been charging them an invoice to get in.
Well, yeah, it's a bit odd. I think what happened though was Zach's dating app crashed, so he did have plans up there, but fell
we just
through.
at a local pub. We just went to the same pub they were at for dinner. And I know his family and stuff, so I wanted to catch up with a couple of his family members. I actually didn't even say hello to the buck, just talking to the rest of his family. Anyway, so then Sunday morning we drove over to the Shepparton Running Festival. This is Run to PB. We're partners with this event, so we had a whole lot of athletes running over there. And Zaka, being the CEO of the Run to PB, he kind of got a few of us coaches involved to go over for the morning. So Chris Armstrong was obviously over there. He's a Shepparton boy. Olympian Maddie Heiner was over there as well. And then Zaka and I just jumped in the marathon to do the long run. And I jumped in with, I wanted to run about, 4:05 to 4:15, anywhere around there. And I jumped in with Jared, James, and Madeline Heiner was meant to run with us, but she got a bit competitive, like 'cause the half marathon started at the same time, and she was doing that, and she won it. And she kind of put in a surge about a K in. Didn't see her after that. And Scott Stacey, so 3 long-time Patreon supporters. And James was actually having a crack. Jabba was pacing him for the first half, and then Scott Stacey was on the bike, and we just talk shit for pretty much 2 hours and 54 minutes. James probably just fell off a bit in the second half. I think he was hoping to run around 250. We went through the first lap in 125, then faded a bit in the second lap, but a bit of a twisty, turny kind of course. I reckon he'd probably run close to 250 on a flat, fast, open road. A lot of bike path in this one, and hard to get the rhythm up. Probably the best way to describe it is like a park run marathon, if that makes sense. Shared paths.
Not certified, I take it.
It used to always be certified, so this is its first year back after COVID, so it took a while to get it back going. And I remember it used to be certified with the previous organisers, but I'm not sure if it is this year. My watch did come in 200 metres short, but that could have just been me cutting corners. But
I reckon you can come up short.
Yeah, probably shouldn't come up short ever, should it? And I did run. I had stopped to go to the toilet at one stage there, so I did run off the course a bit to find a tree to go behind. So, it was good. Good to get amongst the people. Good to get a long run in. Hey?
You win?
Nah, I think I was 10th or something. I think it was one in 2 hours 30 something. 2 hours 38 maybe.
Okay.
Long way off that. So
that's not that far off.
Me?
Yeah, a few minutes behind it halfway. You would have got some few juices surging.
Didn't see him, to be honest. It was one of those kind of courses which twist and turned, and didn't see him after probably 3 or 4K. But when the gun went, you are right. I was I could be up in that lead pack, but just checked the ego and just chilled out and had some fun out there. So a lot of listeners in that part of the world too, Shepparton. Got some good listeners down there, some good Patreon supporters. So.
Well, Zaka did say that if they weren't listeners before that you ran into them, they would be after, the way you carried on about the podcast.
I was just yapping the whole way to these fellas. Actually, one of them come up to me at one stage. The longer the race went, the looser and more comfortable we got with each other. So, and then one of them, I reckon at 30K, was just by the way, just because I got you here and we're talking about podcast stuff, I just want to let you know that I agree with you that 15 degrees up at the Gold Coast Marathon is hot. So I just want to let you know that you were the correct one in that argument you have with Moose about what is a hot temperature or not.
Hey, Moose,
thanks,
imagine
good on you.
3 hours of this. You know how Brady said that guy fell off on the second lap? I reckon it was on purpose.
I did feel bad because I always just kept yapping.
Sorry, mate, just got to tie my shoe.
His goal was 2:54, which is the pace Brady's run. He's like, you know what? I'm willing to sacrifice a few minutes today. I'll just go 2:57 just to have some peace and quiet.
No, he ran 2:54. I just stayed with him. That's why it was actually usually when you pick it up on a long run, but we kind of slow down a bit. And I was just like, I'm just not going to dog this bloke and leave him in the last 10K. So I just stayed with him and just kept yapping to Scott on the bike, and we had some good chats. Solved all the problems of track and field, and yeah, got to the finish line. It was good fun. 151k for the week, so just chipping away. Can't wait for Burnley Half Marathon on the weekend, just to get a bit of an indication of what kind of shape I'm in.
We're going to have a big crack at it.
I think I'll probably go out at 67 dead pace and see how that feels.
What's that per K?
310ish, wouldn't it? Something like that. 312, somewhere like that. So, yeah, just to see if that's kind of where I'm at, or I can find something in the second half. Just
what do you reckon it'll be one in?
65 low last year, wasn't it? Depends who has a crack. And it's hard off the week after Nationals to see who actually is going to have a crack. So I actually can't think of anyone who's like, don't know really. Andy's not running. I don't know if Lockie Hurd would do a serious half marathon.
Liam Cashin?
Seth O'Donnell. Liam Cashin's probably never done a half marathon in his life. Can't see him debuting here. Yeah, could be anyone's. Archie might win it. He's fit at the moment.
There you go.
Don't know. Toby nearly won it last year. He was on the podium, wasn't he? Reece Edwards might have a crack. He's getting into shape.
Yeah, he's done all right.
See, yeah, don't know. Talk about that next week. Let's thank some Patreon supporters, eh? Who you got, Croaks?
I got George Seymour. George is from Thurmby in the UK, and according to his Power of 10 profile, he's run 15:40 for 5K, 34:16 for 10K, which was at the 2022 Prestwold 10K, 73:37 at the 2022 Leicestershire Half Marathon, and 2:52 at this year's Manchester Marathon. And I'm pretty sure he's a DevOps engineer, so that's a combination of software development and operations. So thanks for your support, George.
Thanks, George. Who you got, Moose?
I have Ben Ludbrook. So little Luddy's known him for a while. I reckon 2016 we opened the store and had this little tiny little kid roll in, this little nerd, back when he was probably about 3 foot high. He's from Miners Rest, which is just outside Ballarat. According to World Athletics, he's run 8:45 for 3K, 14:50 for 5K, and 31:10 at last year's Gold Coast 10K. He runs for Eureka, but he is coached by the bad boy of running in Victoria. Toby Mende coaches him.
Does he?
Actually, yeah, I should start hitting him up for... he's not on the Run Strong books. What's going on there?
Just a cashy on the sides.
Yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know about this little setup. I'm going to have to rein that in, I reckon. He's recently added TV in his bedroom for Netflix and chill sessions with the ladies. That's some inside word from Ballarat. That's good stuff, actually. Good job. He's starting to be a physio, works at running company Ballarat, and he was the apprentice to Toby back in the day when we had the store. And now I think he's, I don't think he's reached, I don't think he's left his apprenticeship yet, actually. Still toiling away.
There's no apprenticeship in shoes, is there?
Of course there is. It's like a traineeship, internship maybe.
Is it?
Unofficial. Yeah, unpaid. I had Luddy there 2 years without pay.
Unpaid.
Doesn't surprise me, Moose.
I'm going to thank Justin Perkins. I actually bumped into Justin yesterday. He won the 10K at the Shepparton Running Festival. And
Wait up. This is a brilliant way to get your race result.
No, so you don't think we're living in a simulation. Listen to this. Croaks did these show notes. I bumped into Justin yesterday, and then I log on to the agenda today, and who am I thanking? Justin Perkins. What are the chances of that happening? Seriously.
He's played it well.
This is a very high coincidence. He's also pacing the 3-hour group at Sydney, he was telling me yesterday. So big responsibility on Justin at the Sydney Marathon. If you're running Sydney, want to break 3 hours, Justin's your man. He ran 34:56 yesterday in the 10K to get the win. He lives in Yarrawonga, which for you guys, remember I was telling you after Gold Coast, we went away for a few days to a place called Mawela. That's where Yarrawonga is, same spot. So on the big lake there. Estimated best for 10K is 35:06, but he just broke that yesterday. that was when he finished fourth in the city-to-city 15k race in Albury with Donga. He also set a half marathon PB en route to his 2:38 marathon at the Gold Coast this year, coached by Blake Hose. See one of your coaches, Moose?
Fucking hell. Yeah, well, he is, but this bloke's not a run. He's not a run stronger.
Not on the books either.
Our coaches are just going rogue on us.
Doesn't Blake have his own little website?
Oh, but he must have something else going on.
Maybe you don't pay him enough, Moose.
Certainly not run strong. Shit.
Yeah, no, Justin's a good bloke. He's the kind of guy you want on your books too.
Yeah.
He's a real good fella. So it was good to see his face yesterday. Have you got anything else here to talk about, Croaks?
No, that's about it.
I think that's about it. Did meet him at the Gold Coast initially too, so it was good to see him again yesterday. And I think actually his partner, Bridget, came third in the 10K yesterday as well. So well done to her. Was wearing a fresh pair of Super Blast as well, I reckon, if my memory serves me correctly. Thanks to our Patreon supporters for supporting the Inside Running podcast. Content is king, and we've been putting a bit of content out the last week. I think last week the weekly show went for 2 hours. Christian, Croaks and I spoke about the World Champs, which went for an hour, and then the Road to Berlin boys spoke for like an hour and 45 minutes. So plenty of content on Patreon if that's what you're after. Or if you just want to keep the lights on at the Inside Running podcast, that's how you do it. Patreon.com/Inside Running podcast. Plenty coming at you. And very close to finalising the next Road 2 series. Got 2 locked in, waiting on the 3rd, which should be good for thinking ahead, doing some planning, which is rare for this show. Anything you want to say there, boys? I'll just leave them hanging.
Thank you to those 3.
Do we announce the which event? It's a Road to where?
Not yet, because I'm not sure where they're going yet. Two of them might be going to one place, and one of them might be on another place, but on the same day.
Are they locked in? Are they signed contracts?
Well, one of them, I'm not going to say anymore. Two of them have signed. Two of them's verbal commitment is all we need.
Male, female?
One male, one female at this stage. Both represented Australia recently.
Olympics?
One been to the Olympics, both haven't represented Australia. One's Australian and others from another country. That's all I can say at this stage.
But both have been to the Olympics?
No, one's been to the Olympics. Depends if I can get this third one. The third one's the one I'm working on. Did you see the third one on the weekend, Croaks?
Briefly.
Okay, good.
Well, I don't even know because you haven't told me who they are, but I'm assuming...
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. So hopefully we'll get him across the line.
This week's episode of the Inside Running podcast is proudly sponsored by ASICS. Stability has never felt better than with the Gel Kayano 30. Reimagine stability. New 4D guidance system provides adaptive and on-demand stability, supporting runners in every step of their run. Softer landings. New Pure Gel technology for enhanced shock absorption, softer landings and smoother transitions. More cushioning. New lightweight FF Blast plus eco cushioning and an increased 4mm in stack height means an even more comfortable ride. A lighter footprint for a brighter tomorrow. The Gel Kayano 30's carbon footprint is 14% lower than the industry average, a study conducted by MIT. Visit asics.com or your specialty running store to grab your pair today.
Let's go to your place on the weekend, Croaks. Canberra National Cross Country was on. Do you want to... Hey, it looked dry. It looked dry and sandy. I was watching the live stream, paid my $9.99, even though it was advertised as $6.99. Moose 20 promo code did not work. But, I watched the drone footage. Couldn't see who was who, but unless they had like a massive mullet, like Seth O'Donnell and Ed Goddard, you could easily distinguish those two. But looked dry up there, Croaks, and sandy.
Oh, it's more like, I wouldn't say it's super dry. It's more just through the seasons, the colour of the grass sort of changes. So I think it was more the colour of the grass looked like it was super dry. But it was it was a nice surface for running. To be honest, I was there watching the race, but I didn't move around the course as much as I normally would because I was sort of busy wrangling kids. Kids just aren't quite old enough to be taken to a cross-country event, I realised on the weekend. So Jack Rayner there was a pretty big pack early on, and then on the last lap it was pretty much Jack had a small gap where Andy was in second, and you're like, oh, I wonder if Andy can get him. And it wasn't until they came from the bottom section of the course, so probably about a K to go, when they came up the hill, Jack had a lead that we knew that he'd be able to hold to the end. So he won in 30.01. Andy was second in 30.07, and Ed Marks was third in 30.15. Any thoughts from what you saw?
Yeah, I thought Andy was pulling him back at one stage. Probably Jack put in the huge surge down the hill, didn't he, Moose, and destroyed that whole group other than Andy. And
it was off the steep pinch.
Yeah,
he moved to the front of the pack up the steep pinch, and you could see he was trying to shake him, and then that downhill, it's pretty clever because that tight U-turn, everyone bunches up, and you have to kind of almost go single file to get around properly, and so the only person that can really match is the person in second, maybe in third. So he can drop the whole pack with one move if he does it right. And it was tactically it was brilliant, really.
Yeah. And then Andy was just trying so hard to close that gap that it felt like when he got close enough to get to him, Jack just moved away again, which was maybe a strategy. If someone can close it, then save your next surge for when that happens.
Yeah. So, he wins a lot of races. I'm not sure why none of us tipped him.
Well,
he wasn't on the start list.
No, he was when we did the show last week.
But he wasn't when I... So just to clear something up from last week, when I put all those names down in the agenda, it was more me just going through the start list and just putting the names that I thought would be competitive. I wasn't ranking them. But then when I did that, Jack's name wasn't on the start list. So I'm pretty sure he was a late entry.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Yeah, they were your tips if anyone asked, though. When you put them there on the agenda, we read them out. I think because Jack didn't have an amazing season in Europe to his high standards, but he was still running 13.35s, and probably those guys can't run 13.35s like the rest of them.
This is an Australian record holder in the 10K.
I know, yeah. But, do you know what I mean, though? We maybe just slept on him a bit because we expect him to go over there and run 13.10.
Well, I didn't realise he was running.
I would have put him. I would have had him as favourite if, I was on. If his name was on the start list when I was doing it.
Brady, you were the only one who knew, and you didn't pick him.
It was on the agenda last week. There was a link to the start list.
I was going off Croaks' picks. Why did Croaks leave him out?
But you can see why he did it, because I think this is one of the first years where they've had prize money for National Cross, and it was good prize money. It was something like
$4,000,
$4,000 for first. So it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't Jack fly up here to pick up some, pretty easy money for him?
Well, he's on a different level, though, isn't he? It was almost like a amazing domestic field, and he's well credentialed.
The course is too runner friendly for Andy to have the upper advantage there.
I reckon I called that in our message group 2K in. I'm this does not suit Andy. They were
Jack beat Andy at World Cross?
Nah.
No?
Nah. It went Kai and then Brett and Andy come in together.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think
that
Jack
sort
was
of
maybe
course,
injured.
That Bathurst sort of course definitely suits Andy more. Yeah. Women's race, it was very similar. There's a really big pack for a long time, and I remember commenting to somebody that you knew the pace wasn't on because there was a lot of girls there that if the pace was on, they wouldn't have been there for that long. And you could just sense Jen was pretty much doing the same as she did at Sunshine Coast half, was basically just doing enough to be at the front of the race without actually leading. And then was able to really sort of accelerate in that last K to win. So she ran 34.43 for the win. Leanne Pompeani was second, 34.50, and Holly Campbell was third in 35.04. So good to see Holly Campbell back after having to pull out a World Cross due to injury pretty much the week before.
This was kind of. It was Jen's to lose, I reckon, given that Leanne has been injured. And there was an article today that she mentioned that she'd had 3 weeks off running, basically. and she's had a long-term injury. And so she's sort of come back and she's barely run a step in 3 weeks, it says. So she did not, like, I think if she was running this race when she was fitter, I don't think those first 2 laps go at the pace that they did. And that's the only way to beat Jen at the moment, isn't it? Is to have the pace fast early. And even then, it's like Jen can still compete with that. So, Leanne did all that she could to beat her. She didn't wait around at the for the last 200 or something. Like, she went to the front and she made it as hard as she could make it, given her limited build up for this one. But there should be a lot of girls out there watching what Jen's doing in these races and think, okay, like, we're not going to let this happen every race because she's fucking good at what she does. Like, we have to make it different out there. We have to do something to beat her because nothing's beating her right now.
The problem with Moose, go.
Well, she's just the queen right now. Like, she's just winning it. She's winning everything that she enters, basically. It's been an impressive comeback, and she's done it a little more slowly than some of the others, but she's reached a higher peak at the moment.
I think one of the reasons why she's so unbeatable, one, like, obviously the tactics, but if you look at her as a runner, like, she doesn't really have a weakness. Like, she's got enough speed that if she's there coming from the track, like, if she's there with 100 to go, she's probably going to outkick the pure distance runners. But then her strength component, which up until like recently you'd maybe question because she was more of that sort of 3K steeple, 5K, not really that much longer. But now she's proven that she can run a good marathon and will continue to improve over the marathon. So that indicates that her strength's good, but she's still got that really good speed. So she's a really versatile athlete.
Yeah, but she still doesn't have the PBs of some of the other girls, like over the longer stuff, like the half and the 10. Like, maybe they will come, maybe they're just waiting to happen. But I would think, like, her weakness now is from the gun to the tape, a very fast race with no surges, just flat to the, like, pedal to the floor the whole way. That would be what I would consider her weakness. And the reason I'm saying that is because we haven't really seen that from her before in anything over maybe a 5 to 10K.
Yeah, I think her strength's definitely improved, and like those PBs over the longest distances, I don't think they're a true reflection of like where she is now and where she's going to be in a few months' time.
Yeah, she loves to win. She knows how to win. She makes her break, and she makes it very clear. I thought her and Rayner, they are probably like the two most experienced winners within the whole fields, and they just executed their winning move perfectly, both of them.
Yeah, tactically very good. Let's stay domestic, Croaks, before we go to Budapest. Adelaide Marathon.
So just do the winners here for the marathon and the half. So Tara Palm won the women's marathon in 2:48 and Fraser Darcy won the men's in 2:24 flat. In the half, Eloise Wellings got the victory, 73:12, and Jacob Cox won the men's in 65:01. And then just heading over to Perth, Perth City to Surf. This has been a pretty iconic event. Like, I remember back in the day, a lot of people were flying over from like New South Wales and Victoria for this event.
Right.
Yeah, it was a really popular event for people on the East Coast. And then they used to then they changed it to lots of different events. I think they had like a half marathon, but now they've gone back to sort of the roots of like a 12K. And so Matt Smith got the win in 36:49 and Sinead Noonan won the women's in 41:55.
2.5K prize money for Adelaide, 1.5K for the half. That's got to be an increase.
Yeah, and I remember reading somewhere they had a pretty good like elite athlete sort of support system this time around as well. So doing some good things down there in Adelaide.
That's going to become a player for domestic runners.
Yeah.
I wonder though, like, this is more of a big question. We've got the world champs on, so like obviously Australian athletes are there. We've got National Cross on and Adelaide Marathon and Perth's biggest fun run all on the same weekend. No, I haven't even mentioned Shepparton Running Festival. Like, do we need to look ahead and space these things out? And just today I was told that Sydney Bay is the same weekend as Sydney Marathon Festival, which is the same weekend as Tan Relays for people in Victoria. Like, this isn't rocket science. Let's move some stuff around here and, like, collaborate and not put all these big events on the same weekends.
Did you see the first, second, third for the City to Surf?
Yeah, I did have them.
Are we seeing like Nick
I've got Adelaide in front of me, second and third.
Ben Chamberlain.
What was that, sorry?
Matthew Ramsden. Is he back?
No, Matt Ramsden wasn't there.
What about Dean Menzies?
The collection of like Perth athletes like Nick Harmon, Menzies, Chamberlain.
Nick Harmon, that's a name from the past.
Yeah, so they're not at National Cross. Are they at City to Surf? Or like it's WA's sort of fallen off a little bit in terms of, like, we were talking about that state being a real player, especially with the marathoners, with Menzies and Nick Harmon coming through running I'm going to say he ran 2:40.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just bring it up. I've got it here now. So
Dean Menzies ran well at Gold Coast. Didn't he run 2:17?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was.
So he's still progressing. Yeah. Okay. But Nick Harmon, I think, has had a long-term injury, hasn't he?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I think because it was him and Tommy ran Fukuoka. Had his breakthrough. But even like, so national, South Australia used to send like some strong teams for the cross country. I didn't see anyone in the footage. Like, you know, when they send Riley Cox, Jacob Cox, Adrian Potter, cause I think it's only 4 people that count maybe. Like I think they've won national cross the team section before.
Yeah, they have. I remember we chatted about it one year, how like good South Australian running is going because they're able to win like that.
Yeah. And like, I don't blame Jacob for staying local, winning $1,500 by winning the half, run 65.01, decent time. But if they weren't on the same weekend, maybe you get him at both of them.
Yeah. Ben Chamberlain was second in that race in 37.33, and then Thomas Moorcroft was third in 38.26.
Yep.
Yeah. So Sinead Noonan's running well though. Like, she finished third, didn't she? Sunshine Coast half.
She did.
Yep. PB.
And Dean Menzies was there, I reckon, wasn't he?
Was he?
I reckon he went across and ran Sunshine Coast. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go to Budapest. Where do you want to start, Bradley? Do you want to start 800s and just work our way up?
It's probably easiest. I originally had them all in the order that they'll run, but I think it's probably easier just to go with the 8s and 15s, 5s, steeples.
Start by women's 8s. Overseas listeners, there will be very much an Australian trend to these results. So if we whiz past something that you're not happy with, that's an international athlete, just don't worry about it. Just don't have to email us. Just listen up. 800 women's croaks. This was an upset, wasn't it? I think Mo was kind of their favourite, wasn't she?
A little bit, yeah. Like, I guess based on what she's done in the past, like, she's the Olympic champion, but she hasn't raced a lot this year. Like, she ran the US trials, but only did the 15 because she didn't have to qualify for the 8 because she's the defending world champion, so they get a wild card or a free entry. But she put it on the line. Like, she went to the front, went through the first lap pretty quick, and then actually tried to like even break them even further up down the back straight on the second lap. But got into like the home straight, and Mora and Hodgkinson were able to go past her quite easily. So Mora, who's the Commonwealth Games champion, she won in 156.03. Hodgkinson was second, 156.34, and then I think Mo was third, 156.61. So from an Aussie point of view, we had Ellie Sanford. She was run out in the heats. Abby Caldwell and Katrina Bissett, they made it through to the semi-finals. I thought Caldwell ran really well in the semis. Like, I thought tactically she put herself in the right spot, and she only missed by like one spot on making the final. So she was pretty impressive, I thought. Don't know if you guys saw any of the 800s.
I saw the heats. Think I missed the semis. It's been a bit hard trying to catch up on everything. I didn't get too busy.
I didn't see it. No.
Yeah. Anyway, from an Aussie point of view, I think Caldwell, was like the standout performer there in terms of how she, ran in the semi. Kat wasn't really sort of in the picture to qualify at any point during that sort of semi-final.
Which is a big thing because she's doubled. You're saying she's the best out of the three of them, and she's the only one of the three who's doubled from the 15, so she's a bit more tired. And she's a lot younger. Yeah, interesting. Men's 800, that was also this morning.
So Marcus Arop, he got the win, 144.24. Emmanuel Yanyoni was second in 144.53, and Ben Patterson from the UK was third in 144.83. Arop was just, like a clear-cut winner, really. He had it sort of sewn up down the home straight. So we had... we spoke about this actually on our recap last week, Brady. So Riley McGowan and Peter Bowl both ran out of the heats. I thought Pete Bowl was quite poor tactically. The one thing that he did really well in Tokyo last year was every single round he put himself in a position to win, or at least to run to the best of his ability. And I thought going into this championship, he'd run a 334 1500 and a low 144 800. So I thought he was in pretty good shape, but he just was always sort of towards the back. And then with 250 to go, he just had too much work to do. And to have to then go around the field on the bend, then he got sort of checked a little bit. It just wasn't the Peter Bowl of Tokyo.
And obviously a bit's happened in his life the last 6 months.
True.
I wondered the mental toll. But he looked fit, He looked fit, and he was putting times on the board that indicate he's fit.
Yeah. And then Deng, he made it through to the semis. He actually led through the bell of his semi-final, but then faded pretty badly. I think he ran 147 or 148 in that semi-final.
Just a side note, whoever's in charge of Joseph Deng should really take the Instagram password off him.
Well,
is it still up?
It's still up. I'm looking through it now.
Are you kidding?
It's still up. Still up. Yeah.
Well, James Templeton's his manager.
Yeah, I thought he doesn't control his Instagram though.
No, but if you're somebody's manager, you got to remember the manager's there to protect the person's brand.
Yeah.
And it's not a good look.
It is
brand is getting hurt right now.
It is.
Very much so. And I don't get why he's got beef with Jakob. Jakob wouldn't have a clue who Joseph Deng is, would he?
You should provide some context, Brady.
Okay. So,
because the listeners are what are these blokes on about?
Joseph Deng did a post after the World Champs, and his caption of his photo was, "World Champs done, had a good crack but got beaten by better men tonight. No excuses about a sore throat." In reference to Jakob saying he got beaten in the 1500 because he was a bit sick. And then I'd assume Jakob fans have then piped up in his comments and said, they got it back to Jakob a bit, and then Joseph Deng has replied to them with some, what I would say is inappropriate comments back, and probably got sucked into, back and forth with people he should not be getting sucked into, having back and forth with, and there was, some inappropriate comments, going back and forth, which I think he's better than.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, you know him?
I don't know him, to be honest.
You had a there's some before?
Well, there's some. No, I haven't, but I think I don't know. You've made an Australian team. Do they sit you down and say, "Hey, maybe don't drop the C-bomb in comment replies to trolls on Instagram comments"?
I can't remember doing anything like that.
Don't maybe reference explicit content with people's mums in comments replies.
There's some homophobic shit in there too, wasn't there?
I think so. Yeah, I cannot get over that. That would just let slip. It's 4 days ago. But anyway,
I was running with Ali, and I showed her those posts and those comments, and she's like, "Oh, we go through so much training to get told never to do this stuff."
Mm.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. I think AA could potentially sanction people for that, as part of their team, bringing the sport into disrepute and that sort of thing. I'm surprised it's all still up there, to be honest.
That's why I just searched it, because I saw they were talking about the result. I thought, I better check if it's still there. Totally expecting it to be all gone. I did assume that someone would have taken that down by now. Not a good look. But anyway, let's move on. Women's 1500. Kip Yeagon just doing her thing, Croaks, 354.87.
Yep. Going to go through the rest of the results?
Yeah. Well, Taji, she was second from Kenya, I think, or Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
355.69. Safan Hassan, 356.00. She just controlled it. This was just class. She just wound it up. 62nd third lap, 57 last lap, sub 2 minute last 800. Jess Hull was 7th in 359.54. I'm putting you on the spot, Croaks. Where did Jess Hull finish at Tokyo? 6th, 8th? Somewhere around there?
I think it was... good question. I think she finished maybe 7th at the World Champs last year.
Yeah. Anyway, for people at home, top 8 at these kind of Olympics, World Champs is always a big thing, and often includes different funding levels and stuff. And I think Jess Hull coming 7th when you're including people like Kipyegon and Hassan in front of you, doesn't leave a lot of spots, is an amazing result.
Yeah.
And it's just what we expect from Jess now, isn't it? You just kind of expect her to be there, and Kipyegon just proven she's on a different level. Question about... I won't ask the question about Safan Hassan yet. I'll ask that after we talk about the 5K. Men's 1500. We got to talk about this? We kind of haven't we?
Well,
not with Moose.
No, not with Moose. So we've only spoken about it on that bonus show.
I did put the first 15 minutes of that on everywhere. So if you haven't listened to that, you can listen to that. And Christian and Croaks do a deep analysis on that. But Moose, what did you think of it? Do you like seeing Ingebrigtsen get done?
Yes, I did like it. And you could just tell he was having flashbacks. And, the whole choking, we call it choking, don't we? When someone's coming in just paying $1.09. $1.09 favourite. And he's in the right spot with 150 to go, with 100 to go. He's in the right spot. He's choked it. That's what's happened there. And he's made himself a villain, and he's given himself an even bigger target. He's talked shit for a few, months. He's said that, no one's at my level. There's going to be some, I don't know what the translation was, something about, other idiots out there that are not running well. And he just made himself a target. And it's the 1500. It's an unpredictable race. I said to Toby, we're going through the odds on the way home one night. I'm like, do not bet on the 1500. That shit is unpredictable. There's just too many guys out there. There's just too much argy-bargy. All it takes is Ingebrigtsen to go down. And Toby was going to put, $1,000 or something on Ingebrigtsen.
Oh, because I was about to say to you,
you'd be win mad. 90.
Yeah, you'd be mad to put any money on Ingebrigtsen at $1.09, given it's the 1500.
Crazy.
But also, we've seen the way that he wins 1500 meter races is when it's 151 through 800, where he's got a pacemaker there for that first part, and it just takes the sting out of those 800 meter guys. And in a championship, he just doesn't do that. He doesn't go from the gun, doesn't run 151, goes through 154, which keeps the guys like Kerr and Whiteman, who are probably faster over 800, keeps them in the game for that last 150.
Yeah, so I like watching it. I like watching him get beat. I love the energy from Kerr. He's a big time performer, Kerr. He knows how to get it done. What was that other race? He won a bronze at Tokyo, didn't he?
Tokyo.
Yep. He gets it right at the right time.
Yeah, and the difference with Kerr, though, he's got a lot of self-belief, but I think he doesn't go across the line of arrogance, whereas Ingebrigtsen has a ton of self-belief to the point that he's just arrogant. And we'll chat about it more after the 5K, but I listened to an interview with him after the 5K, and even now, he just doesn't even acknowledge Kerr. But we'll talk about that when we get to the 5K.
I think Josh Kerr spoke about it in his podcast as well. Christian sent through a little snippet of it this morning, the Sit and Kick podcast, so there might be hearing his perspective of it as well. Do you listen to that? It was about how they were waiting in the call room.
Yeah.
Ingebrigtsen hadn't rocked up, and then they were asking Nordaz to call him, and he's just like, he's not going to be answering my phone call.
I've only listened to the clip that Christian sent through, but I will at some point listen to that full episode.
Yeah, women's 5K, Kipyegon did it again, 14:53.8. Hassan nearly got her, 14:54.1. Chibet The World Cross Country Champion was third in 14:54.33. Solid first K, slow for the next two. Picked it up in the fourth K. Last K was in 2:40 with a 56 last lap. That is incredible. 56. All three Aussies, though, were run out in the heat, but Rose Davies was the best with a 15:07, which was just half a second off her PB. So a massive pass mark for Rose Davies there, Croaks.
Yeah, no, Rose was really good. Jess Hull, she was also in the heats, and she was there for the first maybe 2.5 K, but then dropped off, soon after that. And I think just the 1,500 metre races had just taken a toll. And I did hear her say in one of her interviews after the 5K, this is an area that she needs to be better at, because you look at, Kip Yeagon and a lot of those girls that ran 3 rounds of the 1,500, they were able to back up in the 5K heats and still run, 14 well into the 1440s. So she just needs to get a little bit stronger at being able to back up and, through these championships. And then, I guess we had, Lauren Ryan was also in the 5K. And so she didn't progress past the heats.
So men's 5K, Jakob did get the win. This was in the early hours of this morning. Katir, he led him in the straight, didn't he?
Led him to about 20 metres to go.
13:11.30 to 13:11.44. Jacob Kropp from Kenya was third, but it was only 1 second behind, but it was kind of like best of the rest. These two were out in front. The Ethiopians controlled the race, but it was pretty slow. There was 9 to 10 of them at the bell. Katir made a move down the back straight. Jakob's last 3 laps was 61:58.52 for 2:20 last kilometre. Stewie was in the final. He fell in his heat but got reinstated for the final. He finished 13th in 13:26, and Morgan McDonald was run out in the heats. Epic race though, Croaks. I'm asking you every time because I assume you've watched every one of these races. Sorry, Moose.
Yeah, I watched this one. I didn't watch it live, but it was always going to be interesting to see the tactics here. And I don't know, there's a listener question about this. I don't know whether we actually do the listener question now, because I reckon it's a good one. Because you look at Jakob, he's the fastest 1,500 metre guy there, with Katir, and you've got all of these Kenyans and Ethiopians that are capable of running like 12:40 or even faster, but they allow it to be, a 13-minute race, which just plays into Jakob's hand. So the question that came in today was, do you think we'll ever see a country racing to maximise gold medal chances for the country like what would happen in cycling? Ethiopia's best chance for gold in the 5K surely would have been Gebrawet and Kajelcha drilling it for 2K each, pacing Aragawi to a sub 12:50 rather than it being a sit and kick 13:11. Uganda sort of tried this in the 10K but haven't fully committed to it. And loved the 1,500 metre recap last week as well. So that came in from Andrew Gattenby. Because that's the way I thought that Ingebrigtsen could be defeated, is making it fast from the start and maybe running it as a team as opposed to just 3 individuals from Ethiopia's point of view. Thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I love it. And the 5K is easier to pull off than a 10K because it's only 12.5 laps. They're not going to let a guy get 70 metres ahead like they sometimes do in the 10K.
Yeah.
They used to do that back in the Gebre Selassie era.
Yep.
There was always going to be a teammate of Gebre Selassie, and he had a job to do. And that was to look after Gebre Selassie's needs, whatever they may be. And that's how you get it done again now. But perhaps these different athletes have different agencies now, and the agencies are the ones that are pulling the strings and giving the instructions more so than the federations are.
And the sponsorship bonuses, they could with different brands and stuff. And you look at those three...
they're individuals in a world championships, right? Why the fuck would I give up my race for someone else?
Yeah.
It's not a team sport.
And they wouldn't even... I don't know if these guys are even training partners now because... what's his name? The one that I was hoping was going to win. Because Christian
Kajelcha.
Yeah. He's trained in America or something, isn't he? He was with Salazar back in the day, but who's he with now? I'm not sure.
Well, I thought he was with Robury for a while, but I don't think that he is.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think he's gone somewhere different.
Again, yeah, okay. But yeah, the point I'm trying to make is sometimes then, like back, I think in that Gabriel Salesi day, that might have almost been him and two of his training partners who make the team.
Mm. Yep.
But then, like, the Ethiopians in this 5K were happily, like, sharing drinks and sponges and stuff like that. But also, like, the Diamond Leagues, like, Aragawi doesn't have an issue, like, basically going to the front and, like, dragging it out for, like, a long period of time. I just thought, like...
After the pacer drops, though.
Yeah, but, yeah.
Different to do it with 6 laps to go than, like, 10 laps to go.
But even still, they didn't really, like... You know, you look at Jakob's last 3 laps, like 61 to 6. So it's only really 1,200 out that they've really got going. And that still plays into a 1,500 metres specialist hands.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, but getting back
to... You said the same about Mo Farah back in the day. Because he wasn't the best runner in some of those 5s and 10s, but he could just outkick everyone.
Yeah, and look, who's to say, like, maybe Ingebrigtsen still wins, even if they do that. But in terms of, like, Jakob's interview after the 5K, somebody asked him about, are you looking forward for a rematch with Kerr? And he's like, no, not really. He's just the next guy. Like, you know, when if people do a race and you fall over, somebody's got to win that race. And so he's just the next guy. And it was just... Did
he really say that?
Yeah, pretty much along those lines. And it's just like, dude, just... I don't know, like, admit you got beaten and give the guy a bit of credit rather than just saying he only won because you weren't 100%. Like, it's just, I don't know, like, the problem with him...
fired up here, Moose. I love it.
The problem with this guy...
like the Wiggins.
The problem is I love this guy. I started training like him.
We've renamed you Bradley Ingebrigtsen in one of our group chats.
But at some point, like, I think because he's been so dominant from the time he was like 12, 13, the guy's just never learnt to lose. And it's coming across really badly now for him where, I don't know, like, it's one thing to be a great runner, but I still think you can be a good bloke as well. And it just doesn't seem like he's coming across that way to me.
Well, do you think because he's been in a high-performing environment from such a young age, he's probably missed out on a couple of those people skills as well? Like,
possibly.
Probably hasn't been amongst the common man like Nordaz has, because they love Nordaz over there. Whereas he's just got in the sport recently.
But do you guys think he should actually acknowledge Josh Kerr or basically...
Yeah, when you told me that, I couldn't believe it just 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Can't go saying that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. He should be a good sport and say this guy's really good and better than him. But I just don't think he believes it. Like, in his head. He's like, I'm not going to say that because I don't believe that he is a better runner than me. He beat me on the day. I mean, you can't argue it. He can't argue with that. But he won't say this guy's better than me or, like, I'm worried about him, because I don't think that he actually is worried about him again. Like, he doesn't think like that.
Because it just goes back to Diamond Leagues now with, like, pacemakers, and he'll smash everyone.
Well, what's his record against Josh Kerr? Like 50-1?
I think, I actually think there was a tweet I read. I wish I'd seen it, but, like, it did the field against Ingebrigtsen, and it was something like, because Whiteman wasn't there, it was something like 67-1 against the whole field, 67-0 against the whole field.
Yeah.
Like, no one in the field has beaten him. Yeah.
He's like, okay, like, I lost today, and maybe it's a bit more emotion charged, and that's why, like, people got up, but and yeah, he could be a little bit of a choker. Like, he could, maybe he doesn't handle the pressure as well as he thinks he does, but he is still a 67-1 now athlete against those guys. So I don't think he needs to acknowledge that they're better. They're not on his level, are they?
No, I'm not saying he needs to acknowledge that they're better than him, but, like, there's a lot of top athletes in the past that would have the mentality that they're better than everybody, but on the day that they lose, they're still gracious about it. And I don't feel like he has been.
I thought you said that he went over and said congratulations.
Oh, it took a very long... It was more like Kerr went up to him in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. It'll be good to see what happens as he comes back after this, whether he has been humbled a little bit. You said that it was different after the 5K?
Not really. Like, he's still certainly pretty arrogant. He was disappointed overall with the whole championship because he didn't feel like he was able to compete at his best, and that's always really important to him, he said. And obviously he couldn't do that in the 1500. But one thing we haven't said on this show was it's also a common trend now that anytime he loses a 1500, it's I was sick. So it happened in World Indoors, and it's happened again now. So it's almost this common, like, even if he's not sick and he loses, now does he just keep saying that I was sick and I'm still the best?
Did it happen at Oregon as well?
He didn't say sickness that time, did he?
No, maybe he just didn't feel myself or something, like didn't feel good.
Like, did you read the thing? I read an article, I'm not sure, Christian may have posted it to us, about how Henrik came out and blamed the Norwegian Federation for him being sick, saying they didn't manage him well enough. And then going forward, they're going to take away all the control that the Federation has from his event preparations, and he's going to take it back totally. So Henrik's not going to allow them to have any say in what happens before the race, whether that means accommodation or food or processes. Like, I thought Henrik's just gone on the offensive against the Federation.
Yeah. Well, didn't you wrote in a group chat that you feel like that the Inga Britsons are like, it's never it's always somebody else's fault rather than them taking responsibility?
Yeah, I don't remember reading that, but it does sound like that. Like,
don't go quoting the group chat here, Croaks.
Stay out of that. I'll go to jail after.
Man,
that was the PG related post, that one.
Version, yeah. Steeples, Croaks, and then Moose, tell us about the marathons.
Yeah, so women's steeple, to be honest, I don't really get that up and about the steeples. I generally fast forward the first 5 laps and watch the last couple. But Winifred Jarvi got the win in 8:54. This is the women's. Beatrice Chepkoech, who's the world record holder, was second in 8:58. And Faith Cheritich was third in 9 minutes flat. All 3 Aussie girls got run out of the heats. But Cara Ryan, she ran a PB of 9:29 in the heat. So I think anytime you're running a PB at a major championship, it's a good championship. Men's steeple, El Bakali was just too strong. I thought Germa, who's the world record holder and is the Ethiopian 1500 meter record holder as well. So he's like a 3:29 guy. I thought he would really challenge El Bakali, but El Bakali was too strong over that last 200 metres. He won in 8:03.53. Germa was second, 8:05.44. And Kibiwat was third in 8:11.98. Geordie Beamish from New Zealand finished fifth in 8:13, which I thought was a pretty good achievement given he's only started running the steeple this year. That's a steeple recap.
Huge women's marathon. Oh, no, women's was first, wasn't it, Moose? That was Saturday afternoon our time.
Was, yeah, women. So, like Croak said, 3 p.m, great time. You've gone straight from National Cross into women's marathon.
I did.
Yeah, it's a good day. We haven't seen much on TV lately during, no marathons. We're not really in marathon season, so it was nice to put one on the TV. The race started out pretty slowly, actually. Big group of ladies. We have 3 in there: Izzy Bat-Doyle, Lisa Waitman, Sarah Klein. My prediction was that Lisa Waitman was going to have a good race because of how experienced she is at A, championships, and B, the heat. She's run well in the heat before, and C, it looked like she's been on a full-time sort of training camp up in Cairns, so she's been doing the right thing in terms of the heat training, getting out of a cold Melbourne, that kind of thing. So none of them went with the front pack, which was probably a good decision because the winner of the race, Mane Shankouli, she's a 2:14 runner, and she's actually come home quite strongly and won this race in 2:24.23. So it was pretty much 3 Ethiopians just battling in this, and they all look quite good. Shankouli has that inside watch action. It's rare to see it, but she's got the watch done up so that it's on the inside, and so she's pretty easy to tell. Am I getting that right? Was that Shankouli that does that?
I think so. I know what you mean. Like when they look, they have to like twist their wrist around to see the watch.
Such an unnatural thing, isn't it? Doing that. I'm like, how have you grown up doing that? Anyway, 2:24.23. So 10 minutes off her personal best, which kind of owes to the conditions a lot. I think they went through in 75 minutes. So she's come home 69. Am I right about that again? Sorry if I'm fucking this up. That's just off the top of my head. I reckon they went through in 75 minutes and come home in 69.
It's good going in that heat.
Yeah, yep. So it was pretty close, really. Gotti Tom Gebrselassie was second, 2:24. Fatima Gaddadi was 2:25 for third. Lisa Waitman was 16th. So she's run strongly. She ran 2:30.50. I've got a feeling she may have run it even or even a more like a negative split to run that. So that is very strong running. Sarah Klein and Izzy, I'm pretty sure they ran together for a lot of the race. Sarah Klein's pipped Izzy, run 2:37.31. So 7 minutes off her PB, which was exactly what Lisa Waitman was. Izzy Bat-Doyle, 2:37.53. So what's that, 10 minutes off? Or about 9 or 10 minutes off for Izzy. So when you look at the women's winner, it was pretty consistent. I think Lisa and Sarah have probably had the best runs there as running to their potential. Top 20 at World Champs, very strong. So kudos to Lisa there.
Yeah, she knows how to nail a marathon.
Yeah. I wonder though, like it's the World Champs, such a big undertaking going and running a hot marathon when she's at the level she's at. Like,
well, she's safe though.
She's safe, yeah. So
you can do represent your country kind of stuff and don't have to chase the time and/or cash.
Yeah.
And Paris is likely to be hot as well. She did say, like, the reason why she was pretty even split was like she'd done about 4 weeks of training in Cairns, and so she didn't train in like the same heat they had because it was getting close to 30 degrees by the end, whereas, you know, in Cairns she's probably training in like 24, 25 degrees. And so she felt like 3:30s per K was about, you know, where she thought she could be in the heat. And so that's obviously the pace that she sort of went out at. But she also said that one thing that she'll try and focus on for the next prep is taking on the nutrition in the heat, because that was also a different experience for her, where she started to feel like a little bit sick at times, which she puts down to the heat and the nutrition, which obviously when you're doing the fast marathons in the cold, that's not an issue, taking on the nutrition.
Yeah, it does affect your ability to absorb that stuff. I know you've got to cut it a fair bit if it's really warm.
I can see why Lisa and Sarah were there, but I think Izzy's the odd one that went to World Champs. Because she's going to be, I think, you know, Lisa's kind of that lock we're talking about for Paris. Sarah Klein would be stoked that she's representing Australia at a World Champs, but probably not in that same conversation of ladies we're thinking about who are going to go to Paris. But Izzy probably is in that conversation. But now, like, I think I read her post on Strava and she was like, that's the hardest thing I've ever done, ended up in the medical tent. Like, unless you're going to go there in the heat and run a top 10, top 15, which could be in the policy, because sometimes it is, isn't it? For the Olympics, they'll say hit this time and or be.
I think,
it used to be. I'm not sure if it is anymore.
I think it is still like a top 8 or something.
Because remember when Jess went and came, was Jess 8th at London World Champs? She finished really high one year.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, so maybe she was thinking I'll go through that avenue. But now, like you think they're going to be harder to bounce back from, and kind of wipes out a Melbourne, Sydney for her, but then she'll go to Valencia instead.
But then again, there's those athletes that just value an Aussie singlet, and anytime you get the opportunity to run for Australia, they want to jump at it, because you never know when you're going to get another opportunity.
Izzy has been to the Olympics, though. Yeah.
I do. No, I respect the fact she went and represented Australia at the World Championships. Who knows what happens with your career?
Yeah.
Like, this is when you're at
Well, the flip side is the men's. We turn the TV on the next day and there's nothing to look at because there's no Australian men's.
Yeah. But, you just don't know what's going to happen. So it would be a very hard move to turn down an Aussie singlet. So men's marathon. This was a great watch, actually. I really liked how this race played out. It was pretty carnage up front. It was pretty warm. Guys went out, again, relatively pedestrian. So there was a big pack. There was one Mongolian who went off the front, sort of messed up the broadcast a little bit. No idea why he did that. But it just started to heat up throughout the race. So there was just like screws getting turned like the whole way. I thought the Ethiopians looked the best within this group, and I thought Tola looked really good, and Gebrselassie. Funnily enough, you can look really good at 30k, but still look absolutely horrendous at 35, which is where we saw Tamirat Tola, the defending champion, and the headline act for Sydney Marathon. He basically started jogging, and then he ended up pulling out. But the winner, Victor Kiplanga from Uganda, this guy didn't open his mouth the whole way. Yeah. This guy was nose breathing out there. That's how I knew he was going to go all right, because he didn't even open his mouth to show any type of distress to the effort. He didn't look as good in his gait as Gebrselassie did, but he just continued to turn screws, and he was the one on the front making the moves happen. He won the race. He ended up beating second place, which was Maru Teferi, who actually had a fall about 5k out from the finish line and had to regain positions that he had lost. So he came back and out-sprinted Gebrselassie with, it wasn't even a sprint in the end. He basically went around Gebrselassie and he offered no resistance. So he was second. And then, Gebrselassie come over for 2:09.19 for third place. The winner ran 2:08.53. Just good balling out there from the lads, I reckon.
Some good action in and out of the drink stations too. Some moves getting made.
Oh, there's some very bad runners. Like when I say bad runners, like guys that cannot hold their line. And the one Ugandan literally went from the back of the pack and just cut across everyone and tripped a Kenyan and then fell over himself. His name was Kissa. And then, he had no reason to be doing that, and he ended up out the back. It's like people were just making some terrible decisions later on.
Kiplangat's also the Commonwealth Games champion, so he knows how to win a marathon.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Tola? So I know that he's down to run Sydney Marathon in 3 weeks, and he's the headline. If I was Sydney Marathon, I'd be pretty filthy about this. So he obviously started to struggle at 35k, and then I messaged you, Moose, saying he looks like he's gonna collapse. He looked terrible at about 37k, and then they told us afterwards that he'd pulled out just before 39k. Surely you don't back up in 3 weeks' time and run a good marathon here in Sydney.
No, most contracts for elite runners, you would think, I'm pretty confident that they do have clauses in that they don't have other marathons within a month, because it reduces their capacity to run well, and they're there as a highlight, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're paying good money to get the guy out here, and it's he's not out here to just sign an autograph or two. You want to make a spectacle of the event, and I'm sure Sydney Marathon would love to have some fast times run on that course to get even more internationals over here and more of the elite guys. I can't see him running a super quick time now after the way he looked at 38k.
No, it's almost like he's taken the piss a bit with that, and that's a big fee. It's a big fee, and I guess if you're in that platinum label athlete and the race needs you, then you can pull the strings a little bit. You can be the one with the bargaining chip.
Yeah.
Because there's only 5 in the men's elite field. Just got it open now. Tola, Guillet, Welligan, and Kibet, and then Brett Robinson.
Yeah.
So if you take out Tola and you take out, I don't know what you guys have heard about Brett Robinson's shape, form, calf. Strava's been very quiet. Like, you're down to 3, potentially. And then Big Moose comes through, Croaks. Top 5 at a gold label marathon.
Boom. Straight to the Olympics.
Moose, when you
Tola and Brett Robinson.
When you run past Tola, what are you going to say to him, mate? Should have pulled out at 21k at World Champs.
Yeah, I'll learn the Ethiopian word for pussy. Hey, I watched you on TV last week, you fucking bitch.
Oh, gold digger.
39k. There's only 3k left, mate.
He got out before any of the damage was done.
Did you see him? Did you see how he looked? There was plenty of damage done.
Maybe it was just tempoing. 39k at 95% marathon pace. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does at Sydney. If they got a receipt, get some money back. I don't know. That's the World Championship recap done and dusted. Thankfully, there are a lot of results there. Listener question we've kind of already answered. So let's go Moose on the loose and then finish this show.
Oh, it's a gentle one today. But I reckon a lot of people would experience this. So you're out on a training run and or in the middle of a marathon and you grab a gel, whichever gel you're into. On the weekend it was me with a Morton. And I grabbed the gel, I put it in my mouth, I tear the top off, but instead of tearing the top off, I tear off it on an angle that actually doesn't open the gel at all, which makes the gel impossible to get anything out of because there's no opening and there's no tear section left. This happens to me a lot. This happened to me last week as well. And as I grabbed this gel on the weekend, I thought, don't fuck this up again. You did this last time. Make sure you get it right. Rip. I go to squeeze the gel. Nothing comes out. I'm like, oh, you idiot. This is an annoying thing that only a runner would know about and that only another runner would care about if you told him about how annoying it was.
Never happened to me, Moose.
You maybe never ripped the top off a gel and it didn't open?
Nah, maybe you need to get onto my gels.
Winners.
I'm not going there.
Never had a problem with the winners gels.
You don't even want to open them, mate. That's actually a good result, not opening that thing.
I had the issue when I did Nobioka Marathon in Japan where I ripped it and it all split and went all over my glove.
Oh.
I remember sharing this story at the time, but it was like years and years ago, and I was worried I wasn't going to get the carbs in, so I was running along licking my glove. And I was the only Australian or non-Japanese person in this race, and I'm like, this is not a good look. Like, why have we invited this guy over here?
You got to dump the glove after that, though. Like, I could not.
No, it was
run
that
with
cold.
a
I had to keep it on.
Disgusting glove. Oh.
Well, I actually haven't, because I often have sticky hands just from when I'm racing marathons. Like, you always spill some on you. So having the glove on actually kept all the stickiness away.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But you get a bit clammy, and it's hard to wipe sort of sweat off with a sticky glove.
Well, I wasn't sweating too much. It was like 1 degrees. It was very cold.
Yeah. The first thing I do though now is water bottle. I'm like, wash the stick off my hands. It feels beautiful. It feels like you're clean again.
What about I tried this gel what I used at Gold Coast, Precision, and it was a twist top. So you take the top off it, have a go at it, and you put the top back on.
Yeah, okay.
And you're running at a marathon pace, so it's manageable to do. You wouldn't want to try to do that at 10k.
What's the volume of it?
Good question. It's got 90 grams of carbs in it, though. I'm not
sure.
Is
it liquidy or is it jelly?
More in between both, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, bit of both. Not too liquidy, but not Morton. You got to chew it kind of thing. Can very much just be squirted in. What's coming up? Croaks, couple of Diamond Leagues to finish off the track and field season for, I guess, European, American summer.
Yep. So, Zurich's on the 31st of August, and Xiamen, I think it's called, Xiamen, is that China? Yeah. On the 2nd of September.
Couple of state half marathons on too. Burnley for Victoria. Where's the New South Wales half at? Out at
Homebush. They do, so sort of Sydney 10 on the same parts of the course, but they do like 3 by 7k loops.
Good. What are you doing in your life, Moose, between now and next week?
Yeah, I'm back to work. Back to work again. So
Shoe Geeks tomorrow, aren't you too?
Is that tomorrow? No, day after. Got Jordan Donnelly from On. He's a shoe developer there, so we're going to hit him up for a bit of a chat.
Whereabouts is he based?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he's like, is it like, I think it might be like Zurich.
He's head office man?
Maybe.
You listened to the coffee club with him?
I did listen to that one actually, yeah. So I'm pretty sure they were over there for like Zurich Diamond League, and then they went to the head office and did the interview there. I might be wrong, but
I mean that would make sense. That's where they would live and work, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big name.
Big name, yeah. So, got any questions?
Wouldn't have a clue what to ask him. But surely you guys ask better questions than the coffee club boys.
I heard that was I heard that they didn't get a lot of information out of that interview.
Well, you expect that you guys might have a few more qualifications on those guys who are just professional athletes, whereas you guys are professional shoe dogs.
Yeah, well, they're not. They love feet, sniffing feet, touching feet, like playing with toes. Whereas I'm into shoes more.
Croaks, what are you doing between now and next week?
I'm going back to work as well, because I didn't work last week. And then kids' birthday parties. Your kids are old enough to be having to go on the birthday party circuit?
Nah, not yet.
Yeah, so Viv's off to she's going to some fashions on the field comp up near Sydney. So I got both the kids and we're going to a couple of birthday parties. Should be.
I heard the worst bit about that is having to mingle with adults who you don't know.
Yeah. yeah. I'm not the best with that.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I don't know. Try and find some common ground somewhere, I suppose.
Is your kid even friends with their kid though, or is it just some random kid from school daycare? They just invite the whole class.
Yeah, so no, the one on Saturday, yeah, so Lily's best friends with this girl. So I do know her parents, so that's easy. And I know some of their relatives, but then there'll be a heap of kids from her school there as well.
Just bring up you had heart surgery last week. That will get the conversation going.
Yeah. I'm going to go and have a sit down.
Pretty good. Had heart surgery last week.
Yeah, well, because I'll have Collis there as well, so that's an easy get out where he's got to I've just got to look after him. So
just drop him off. Come get him later.
Nah, that's the thing. It's there's a certain age where that happens. Yeah, but kids' birthday parties, I reckon once they get to a certain age, you can actually drop them off, but it's not until they're I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 7, whereas, 3, 4, 5 parents need to go.
I do like he's just a bit ahead of us here, Moose. We can just see what the future holds for you and I.
Look, that sounds fucking horrible to me, though. I'm already trying to work out ways to get out of that.
Yeah, could you imagine Moose? Moose is bad enough in person at a running event. Imagine him rocking up to somebody's house and none of them run, nothing at all.
Do you know what the most awkward thing is ever is when I go and do a marketplace transaction. The other day I went to pick up a set of chairs and the bloke goes, "Oh, g'day," and he holds his hand out to shake my hand, but I didn't realise, and I just stuffed the money in his hand, and I'm like, "Oh no, sorry." And then I go to put my hand out to shake, and he's already put the money in his pocket and turned around. I'm like, "Oh, how are you so bad at this?"
Talking about how bad you are at that, people were telling me yesterday in Shepparton that they've asked you for photos and you wouldn't get photos with them.
That is a fucking lie.
No, they were serious. They were literally we didn't want to ask because we asked Moose at the Gold Coast and he told us he doesn't do photos with listeners. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
You are making shit
I am 100%, I swear on the life of my children, this was said to me yesterday.
Unless he has his FPOS machine and then he's like, no worries, $5.
Far out. I thought he was a man of the people, Crooks.
That's a lie from them. I'd love to hear that story.
There's a photo. They tagged me in a photo saying at least one of us would get a photo with us.
Yeah.
Anyway, disappointing
you, Moose. Photo with me anyway. Fucking hell. We sit behind our screens. We're absolute nerds. We talk about running.
Yeah. Just let the people take a photo of you. That's all I'm asking. Anyway, I'll see you Sunday morning, Moose. Bit of half marathon action. See you next week, Croaks.
Looking forward to it.
See you, boys.
See ya. Special thanks to ASICS for sponsoring this episode of the Inside Running podcast. Stability has never felt better than with the Gel Kayano 30. Updated with a 4D guidance system for support right when you need it, and Pure Gel technology for softer landings every time. Visit asics.com or your specialty running store to grab your pair today.
But here I stand, a man whose roots he understands, and I'm gonna hold my head up high. I was taught as a young man, doesn't matter if you're white or black. Just show love to everyone you meet, doesn't matter if it don't come back. On the